related things from time to time.
You mean the cows in between here and there?
Yeah, the cows be grazing amongst the lines of these verses.
I don't know if any temple has it. I wanted to ask you about this. Sorry to start off with cows, I know. So the deities can see the cows. This is like such an amazing thing we have in New Mayapur when the cows are grazing that side. Do you have anywhere in that ISKCON temple like the deities can see the cows like every day? Or
No,
amazing thing.
no temple comes to mind.
Yeah.
The deities are locked in a room and they don't see the fields where the cows are grazing. You're not promoting it enough. People aren't aware of this unique feature of New Mayapur.
We need social media experts, we don't have anyone. We need some.
And your deities are called Govinda Madhava, Radha Govinda Madhava. And actually Govinda is a word that's, I'll just stop 1 second. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Krishna's name is very telling. The word Govinda, one who gives pleasure to the cows. The word Vinda, it means to look for, to obtain, to get them. It's a dynamic word. And you could say, practically speaking, if the cows got out of the electric fence, then you'd have to go looking for them. And you wouldn't stop until you found those cows and you brought them back. So it's one meaning of it. It's a very dynamic thing. He's always thinking about the well-being of the cows and wanting to bring them back into a sheltered place. Another way I look at the verse is, it's about, you could say, the mood of Govinda. In other words, one cow is not enough. You've got to get another one, and another one, and another one. It's a dynamic expression of Krishna's name, that he's always looking for more cows, and more cows, and more cows. And I think this is, you could say, a pulse. How healthy are we doing? People, the Ayurvedic doctors, they take 3 pulses, isn't it? The tortoise, the frog, what's the other one, the snake or something? There's 3 pulses they're feeling in your hands. It's whether you're healthy. So one of our, you could say, barometers or pulses of the health of our society Vedically is our eagerness for wanting more cows. So Govinda's name is something to reflect on. He wants more. Of course, every single cow in the universe is his, and he feels an equal affinity towards them. It's not just the protected cows in a Hare Krishna temple that he has affinity for. Every single cow in the universe is something that he has an affinity for. And there's that verse, actually it comes up a couple of times. There's not just that, but Queen Kunti prayed, Govinda go dvija sura arta hara avatar. She says that Govinda, you go, the cows, the dvija, the brahmanas, the suras, the demigods, arta hara avatar. You descend, you come down to the spiritual world to relieve the distress of the cows, the brahmanas, and the demigods. In other words, Krishna not just sitting back there watching what's going on. He's actually leaving the spiritual world to make a transition, to do something about the well-being of the cows. So I find that very informative for us about the dynamics of integrating cows into the life of the community. So here, Krishna Balaram, it's Krishna Balaram everywhere in this temple. Krishna Balaram, Govinda, Madhava, and they're looking at, how you point it, they're looking at the cows. They're interrelated. And this connection is there many times, there are many verses in the Bhagavatam. I think last time I was here, I indicated I was embarking on this study of the Bhagavatam, of all the verses that have some message about cows, calves, bulls, milk, yogurt, butter, ghee, cow's urine, cow dung, cow's tail, horns made by, bows made by cow's horns. So look at anything to do with cows in the Bhagavatam. And I've come across just over 600 verses that have some connection with cows. So when you read the Bhagavatam, you see that cows are everywhere. They're completely integrated into the philosophy, the structure of the universe, how people live, how people thrive. So this connection between the cows and Krishna, and not just cows and Krishna, because you can see we're in between here. There's the cows, there's people here, and there's Krishna. This kind of connection is universal, and it's what people thrive from. Without cows, people's lives are not the same. Cows improve the quality of life. Everything about them is benevolent. Just seeing them is a source of pleasure. So here, Krishna is looking out the field and he sees the cows grazing. And more or less, for a lot of you, last time I came, the cows are grazing a bit further down. But the cows are there. You can look out the window and you can see the cows grazing. So yes, I think it's quite unique. It's a quite unique experience to be able to, first of all, to look out the temple and see a field, and to see cows grazing. It is certainly unique. I was at a temple recently. We were doing this audit, a national audit of the Goshalas in India. I was invited to help by Kalakanta. He's the Global Minister of Cow Protection and Agriculture. And he was responding to the GBC's concern about accusations that some of our cows and bulls have left our shelter in India and have been given away or leased or borrowed or something to others that aren't us. So there's some concern about it, and it was kind of raised by, you may have heard last year, Menaka Gandhi. She made this accusation that ISKCON are giving their cows to places where they shouldn't be giving to. So it kind of created a consternation. Well, what is the real story? What actually has been going on? So we were asked to do a survey, and there was 4 teams. I was helping with the Eastern Division team, so the Mayapur region and a bit of the south, and I went with Dam Gopal. So one of the temples we went to is a place called Rajamundry. Anyone ever been to Rajamundry? Okay, Hare Krishna. It's quite an experience because it's a beautiful blue temple. Beautiful blue temple. They painted it really exquisitely. And they have 10 Das avatars on this raised, like for example, imagine here, you had a walkway the same height as your temple room, but it's a perimeter of the whole temple. So you can walk externally on this kind of raised, elevated pathway around the temple, and there's a Das, one of the avatars, in 10 little temples. So what was significant about this place in terms of this talk, what we're talking about now, is that right outside their temple, they had a little, beautiful, I think it was thatched building where they had 4 cows and 4 calves. Beautiful cows. And you go up to them and they lift their chins like this and you give their chin a good scratch. So they kind of brought the cows there. Now sometimes though I would say that we noted that some of this cows public viewing is because it's a good fundraiser. It's a good fundraiser. They make thousands of euros or pounds worth of income from having those cows on display. But the deities can't see them on the lower level. So you're quite unique here that you have the cows grazing. So yes, it's a very important thing. Actually, there are many things you're doing here that are excellent. I mean, you've got pictures. Srila Prabhupada came here. Again, another unique place. How many temples in the world did Srila Prabhupada go to? How many rural places did Srila Prabhupada go to? How many places did Srila Prabhupada go to and say something about their development, their future, their setting? So yeah, this is a very unique place, and it's worth letting people know what a wonderful thing it is that you have cows here. One thing, one of the comments I was going to make about reading Srila Prabhupada's Leelamrita, that Srila Prabhupada has a burning urgency to save the world. He's not just going around chanting Hare Krishna, and he's reading and he's giving class on the Bhagavatam. But he's thinking about how to spread the movement, how to change, positively impact the world. So similarly, the realm of cow protection is something that actually has a very positive impact on the world, but we're not really strong yet to make a very big noise about it. And hence, someone like Maneka Gandhi had an accusatory view about our society. As it turns out, in our tour, there was a number of cows that were unaccounted for. They gave them to a place which they felt were on good, they would probably be okay, but they never checked, so we don't know what happened. And if anyone ever been to India nowadays, you will see in a village a cow and a calf. And parked outside is a Mahindra or an International or a John Deere. And the bullocks are hard to find. We went on this tour recently, I may have seen one. Well, we saw a couple of bullock carts in our own compound, but outside our own compounds, I maybe saw 1, 2 bullock carts in the whole 3 weeks we were there. So where are the bulls gone? Where have they gone? This is India. This is the place that we may have aspirations for about cow protection. In fact, the government, they're meant to be promoting cow protection, but in practice, we do not see it. In reality, on the ground, in the village, you don't see it manifesting on that level because the cows, the surplus cows and the bull calves are leaving shelter very quickly and going to places ultimately that end up where they follow the same path as the Western cows. Anyway, so we in our tour, we counted the numbers. We gave a commentary about the well-being of the cows. We were grading the cows as healthy, stout, or malnutritioned. And actually, pretty much all the Goshalas, their cows were in good condition. Some were stout. Only a very few were noted were underweight, and that's due to a transition. For example, when you wean the calves at about a year old, then that kind of transition from a mother's milk to grass sometimes affects them a little bit health-wise. They lose a little weight at that time until they kind of pick up the other diet. So generally their cows were good, but there was enough numbers missing for us to say, you've got to address this. Now, you may know or may not know, but in the GBC resolution, actually, Hridaya Chaitanya, you're at GBC, he's one of the foremost promoters and shaping cow protection in the GBC. Pretty much the last few GBC resolutions, he has been the chief supporter of and architect of those policies. So for example, you may recall that there was a GBC resolution that by Janmashtami 2022, all the deities in the whole world shall have a plan that their milk comes from a protected cow. So Hridaya Chaitanya Prabhu, he was one of the sponsors of that resolution. And now, in response to Maneka Gandhi, he wanted the ministry to give a policy, give us a recommended resolution for the GBC to pass. So we recommended that there should be a suspension on leasing cows and bulls. Because if you look at the cow protection standards, you will see that there are ways that you can loan a cow to certain people if you follow certain legalistic terms and make sure you check on them. So the giving away was done, but the checking wasn't done. So the resolution is now that's been suspended unless you can prove to your local ministry rep that the cows are okay. So in our tour recently, we reinforced that status. Any other questions on this before I read a bit and drift again?
What happened to the court case? Did you hear anything?
Well, it wasn't a court case. What happened was she said something, And some of our leaders in India thought, no, let's not, you can't do that. So they wrote an official legalistic letter. It wasn't an instigation of a court case, but it was like threatening to do so, unless she kind of, apologized or whatever. So she didn't go as far as apologizing. But so it's kind of in the air, but there's no legal case going on.
Did she apologize?
I don't think she formally apologized, no. But she didn't. I don't think she didn't go into the campaign again about it. But what do we say? When I was since I came here last time, this is my second visit to India. I was also invited by Kalakanta to go there in October last year. At that time, we were surveying a project called Haribol Milk. You may have heard about it. They were promoting their milk as ahimsa, cow protection milk from India, from an Indian village. So we were a bit suspect. Anyway, so they invited us to certify it. It is following cow protection standards, but we weren't able to certify it because there was too many holes in the system. And for example, what we can say is the milk is from a Gir cow, and it's A2, if A2 is of interest to you or not. On that point of A1 and A2, it's kind of a gimmick. It's a kind of marketing gimmick that some successful businessmen thought, okay, we'll sell a particular type of milk with a certain type of whatever it is, protein or something, and we'll make it seem like people who are not drinking this milk are not drinking the best milk. So it's kind of a bit like that. It's not very strong scientifically from what I've gathered. I haven't researched it, but two devotees I know have researched it, and one being Krishna Chaitanya Maharaj, and he felt it wasn't substantial information. It's like someone saying, unless your milk comes from a brown cow, it's not really the most healthiest thing. It's a bit like that. For example, if you're a Shiva follower, Lord Shiva likes milk from a red cow. It's mentioned there in the Shiva Purana. Like a sandy coloured cow. So where's that? There you go. Mr. Shiva, he was at his t-shirt. So he's only drinking brown milk, brown cow milk. Of course, you're lucky. You've got brown cow milk. You're okay here. You're right. So it's a bit like that. If you're a connoisseur, you want milk from a particular type of cow, then okay. Also, what they say A1 and A2, it's not necessarily, the idea was that, okay, the indigenous Indian breed, they're A2 and the Western cows are A1. It's not as simple as that. There are indigenous breeds that are also Indian breeds that are A1 and A2 from the same breed. You only know by testing the particular protein or molecule, whatever it is that they're looking for. So, anyway, so we were there at this project called Haribol. I mean, we weren't able to certify it because their model relies on them giving their cows and bulls to another charitable organization that they don't have any control over. When we went to those particular charitable organizations, the numbers didn't stack up. A cow protector will go to a herd and he'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He'll expect to see 5 males, 5 females. If there's not 5 males and 5 females, you think, well, why is there an imbalance? Okay, maybe you bought a few cows to get your herd going. That creates an imbalance. But Gaushal has been going 15, 20 years. The number should be more or less 50-50, males, females. So if you go, for example, in Vrindavan, which was managed by Sanak Sanatan for 17 years, he had a policy, nothing in and nothing out. No cow will leave, no, they won't buy anything in. It's all kind of bred within. So there you find a balance herd, 50-50. You go to Mayapur, same thing, 50-50. So we were going to these farms, these villages, and we were seeing, even on the level of the calves, 1 male to 2 or 3 females. That immediately tells you that the males are leaving the shelter of those villages from that stage of their life. And we went to these charitable organizations, again, huge disparity between male and females, thousands of females, literally thousands. You look over a fence, it's like 1,000 faces looking at you of cows in this kind of compound. But there wasn't the same number of males. So that tells us that the males are not being protected for their whole life. So we weren't able to certify it. But that was the model that we saw more or less everywhere in India. So where do you go? Where do you go to find a protected cow? And why would anyone bother to protect a cow? It's interesting, when you look at the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, there's only a few places where cow protection comes up. One important thing is that he tells, actually, I know what I was in my previous life. He said I was a cowherd boy. So Lord Chaitanya knew that he was a cowherd boy in his previous incarnation of Krishna. And then the kind of story with the chant Kasi. So I was thinking about this. Why is there so little about cow protection in the Chaitanya Charitamrita relatively? There's 17,000 or is 11,000 verses in the Chaitanya Charitamrita? Anyone know? 17,000? 11,000, okay. So 11,000 verses and very few verses that specifically about cow protection. But actually I was thinking about that, and cow protection is intrinsically dependent on the spreading of Krishna consciousness. Who cares about a protected cow? Who really cares whether a cow is protected or not? All the other religious organizations, they don't have a philosophy of the cow even having a soul. Some of them even have it's like a religious principle to kill a cow. So how will they take up cow protection? Why do we protect cows? Well, what's the first thing we learn? I mean, look here, you've got cows on the altar. Permanent fixtures of your altar. You've got cows on the altar. There's no giraffes there. There's no koala bears. We have cows. We hear from day one that Krishna likes cows. Go Brahmanya Hitayacha. He likes the brahmanas, he likes the cows. In that particular verse, the cows come first. There are other verses where the cows don't always come first, I'll tell you. There's some of the verses where it's brahmanas and cows and demigods, something like that. So sometimes their sequence is interchangeable. But we learn that cows are very important because Krishna likes the cows. That makes us think, well, the cows are important to Krishna, then maybe they're important to us. Srila Prabhupada, in one writing, which I haven't got the reference to mine, I remember reading it, is before he came to the West. And in one statement he says that sometimes people think that Hindus worship cows out of religious reasons. He says, no, the reason is because cows are the most important animals to humans. So think about that. It's true. It's not just a religious sentiment. It's true. Cows are the most important animals to humans. I think the average person drinks about 0.45 of a litre per person per day. There's some figure like that. So everyone's dependent on milk in one form or other. Milk or yogurt or butter or ghee or ice cream or pizza or something. And even people, I think, from my perspective, even those who are looking for dairy alternatives, their connection is still dairy. They're choosing an alternative, you could say, fictitious dairy to replace real dairy, but their hankering is dairy. They want dairy because it's something primordial. It's something we are physiologically interconnected with cows. We benefit from cows. One time, you may have had this experience. Sometimes we meet certain religionists on the street. You get a sense that they're religionists from their aura, from their skin pigmentation, I would say. And those who deny themselves dairy, they suffer physiologically by that lack of milk fat in their system. Their body is not thriving by their denial of dairy products. So the connection between Krishna and people and the cows, it is universal. That's how the universe is. That's how that's how we're created. We're created with this kind of godly interconnectivity with cows. And when people live in that life, they become benefited by it. Everything about them is beneficial.
I love milk and
Yeah, that's a different story. Allergy is one thing, medical reason is one thing. Sometimes the allergy is man-made. And I'll give you one example. When they started homogenizing the milk, heart disease increased. Because the homogenization process affects the fat particles in the milk. Basically, homogenization is when they fire it through a very fine jet and it breaks up the fat particles. So when your milk is in a bottle, it all is myobard. It's all one with the milk. Whereas when we have our natural milk from your cow, in fact you saw it, you see the jug that they pour the milk out? All that cream is on the side of the jug. There's a distinction between the milk and the cream. So when I was a lad, I'm 63 now, when I was a kid, you get milk in the milk bottle, and the top, you got the cream. And the little blue tits would come and peck the top of the silver foil and nick the cream. So sometimes people don't like bits of blobs of cream in their milk. They think the milk is sour. So for aesthetic purposes, some genius had this idea, let's homogenize the milk. And therefore they homogenized the milk, and then people started increasing with heart disease. So there's a connection between homogenizing the milk and that. So I suspect that some of the diseases that people are suffering from, it is because of manipulation somehow or other in the natural process. Saying that, sometimes people, here you've got goats. So for some people who have chest problems, and then for them, goat's milk is better than cow's milk. So it's not that we have to force ourselves to drink dairy if in fact we have some reaction to it. But it also means we have to consider, maybe milk in one form is not good, but milk in another form is good. For example, if you take milk straight out to the fridge on a cold morning and you drink it, full fat milk, you're going to get mucus. It's going to go right to your head and clog you up. If you take hot milk at night time with a bit of ginger and turmeric, you're going to feel light and you're going to feel the food feeding your whole system.
That makes sense.
So it's about how you utilize the milk. And so some of these sciences have been lost because of commercialism. And therefore, and also sometimes this is basically blatant manipulation. They want you to get sick and they want to give you the medicine to cure that sickness. So there are things like that. But I think a lot of it is just artificial manipulation of things. Just on that point, we're not against pasteurization. Pasteurization is something that you do. He's French, isn't it? Louis Pasteur, he's French. So why did he pasteurize the milk? Because people were getting TB from the cows. So if someone's got tuberculosis, they can pass it to the cows, and then the cows can pass it to humans through the milk. So Louis Pasteur discovered that if you pasteurize the milk, or you heat it to 72 degrees for 15 seconds, or 60 degrees for 30 minutes, then that gets rid of all the tuberculosis bacteria. So it's a good system. If you're in India and you milk the cow, it comes out, or like for example now, it's a hot place, New Mayapur is hot. You milk the cow, it comes out body temperature. What are you going to do to that milk to keep it preserved? So in a natural society, they don't have refrigeration. You've got to boil it. You can either drink it straight from the cow, or you've got to boil it, and you can drink it hot, or then you transform it, you put a bit of culture in it, and you make it into yogurt overnight, and then that doesn't need refrigeration. Next morning you can have the yogurt, and then you can actually churn it to make butter. You can make butter from yogurt, you can make butter from cream, you can make butter from milk without being yogurt or cream. So it's just there, you're just going to agitate it in certain ways to come out. Okay, anything else?
It means there is always to understand how to care about cows. There is always a need to understand what is Dharma. So, in your experience now with your Seva and ISKCON education progress, what are the relationship between Dharma and cow protection now?
Now, well, cows are kind of they're something that people talk about in a Bhagavatam class. It's something they read about in the books. It's something they have a few cows to show people. But we haven't integrated cow protection really seriously into our society. When we did this tour of India, in India there's 400 temples. There's 600 registered organizations that provide their accounts to the central accounting department of ISKCON India. But there are 400 temples, and there are 70 Goshalas. So the connection between the Goshalas and the temples is already lost. You may recall there's some very famous quotes where Srila Prabhu said, for every temple there should be a farm. Therefore I'm stressing farm, 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 to get your food, to get your flowers, to get your dairy. So that connection of one farm with one temple has been lost. This was one of those projects, somewhere there, at that time, these wonderful devotees for Srila Prabhupada bought a chateau with 100 acres of land. You hardly find that happening nowadays. You don't find that leadership of actually buying farm projects. And Srila Prabhupada came here and he set a farming focus for, a farming center. So in India we went there and we asked a number of questions. How much milk are you producing? How many cows are producing it? And we also asked, how much dairy products do your deities need? How much milk, how much yogurt, how much butter, and how much ghee? This is what we asked every temple. And for one temple, their milk yield is very low. How much milk do you get a year from a cow here?
8 liter.
Put him on the spot.
I think so.
One cow is giving 8 liter.
Yes.
And 2 cows giving her 4 liter.
That's one milking.
Yeah.
So 60
Yes,
litres a
per
day times 300, about 5,000 litres. You're getting 5,000 litres per year, but that cow will give milk, now it's already in its second year. And on average, it'll give you it for 4 years. So you might get, 15,000, 10,000, 15,000 litres of milk from one calf, 15,000 litres of milk. We were seeing Goshalas where they were getting less than 700 litres per calf, because they weren't taking care of 4 things: the bull, the cow, the calf, and the grass. These are 4 things that are directly mentioned in a verse in the Bible, which I can't remember to can. Bull, cow, calf, grass. You don't choose the right bull. I mean, we as family men, you don't want anyone to marry your daughter. You don't want your daughter to marry any. You want to choose someone who's going to take care of her and improve their quality of life. So somehow that sentiment about being professional about cows, somehow the sentiment has taken over and the professionalism has been lost. And therefore you go and find a cow that's basically covering 1 litre of milk, 2 litres of milk, because the bull selection has not been done, the cow selection has not been done, the breed selection has not been done, the calves haven't been taken care of, and you're not feeding the cows well. So therefore the milk yield was shockingly low. So whereas we may calculate 10,000 litres per calf, there they were getting 700 litres per calf. But the average in India is something like 2,000 litres per calf, which is still significantly less. So anyway, using their figures, we were extrapolating. If you want to produce, let's do it. In fact, I do say it to Prabhu all the time when I come here. What does it take to get so every bit of butter, every bit of ghee, every bit of yogurt, all the milk for the deities here, how will that come from a protected cow? What are the numbers like? How do you do it? So we were doing the same thing with some temples. So one temple that comes to mind is called Vishakhapatnam. Anyone been to Vishakhapatnam? Okay, Vishakhapatnam. It's a beach temple. Right there, overseeing the beach. Beautiful, exquisite place. The beach is disappointing. You see India on the beach like everywhere else, but the beach is beautiful, the temple is beautiful. Anyway, so we went there and we asked them how much milk they would use, and we extrapolated the herd implications of it. And for their milk yield, we calculated they would need about 170 cows, calves, bulls and oxen. Now they weren't a great milk user, they were just a typical smaller, well, it was a small temple, a typical temple's milk use. So then we extrapolated. If you multiply 170 by 400 temples, what does that come to? I think it's 64,000. So to provide all the dairy, using that small figure, small dairy consumption, you need 64,000 cows, calves, bulls and oxen. We have 4,000 in India. So how are we doing in Varnashram? Well, there's 62,000 cows missing in the formula, in the human to cow relationship numbers. We've left it. The movement's growing and growing and growing, but the farming and the cow protection has not kept a pace at all. Not just there, anywhere in the world is the same. Everywhere is the same. So how are we doing? Well, we're not thinking about it. We're not putting enough energy into formulating sustainable, reliable systems where those cows can provide their milk for the deities. Some other people tell me there's money there. There is a lot of money waiting to be tapped into for cow protection. This is what cow protectors tell me. I was talking to one devotee called Sahadev, maybe you know him, he's a writer, he wrote many books about cow protection in India. He said money's not the issue. I mean, he raises loads of money for cow protection. Another devotee, he was, I think I told this story last time I was here. This is a Lachu, it's a true story, I talked to him myself. And he's called Krishna, Balaram is he called? I don't know his name, Krishna something. He bought this piece of land near the Alachua temple, and it had some beef cows on. These are Aberdeen Angus, black cows. They don't raise them for dairy, they raise them for the other thing. So when he bought this land, the farmer said, well, if you don't take the cows, they're going to go to the wrong place. So the devotees decided, okay, I'll buy the cows as well. So he bought these beef cows, black beef cows, and he noted that his business thrived from that taking that stance. He had this kind of guest houses, I think, in New York, and he reckoned the connection between the two things was there. He took responsibility for the cows, and his business thrived. So that was his personal testimony. So to me, that was powerful. He could see the connection. So when people are attuned with cows, they feel this kind of benevolence that they come in different ways. Mostly in our ISKCON society, we tap into the donation side and see that huge benevolence. But the other ways we haven't really quantified and manifested yet. In the manor, okay, the manor is different. They have millions of people flowing by. Their budget last year was something like 800,000 pounds in their goshala. They made 300,000 pounds profit last year. They made 100,000 pounds income just from feeding the cows grass. When you go to their goshala, there's a little table, and there's someone there with baskets of grass. And people give a donation, I think it's £2, and then they go running down the corridor, get the children, with this basket, and they put grass in the mouth of a cow. The kids love it, the people love it, the cows love it, the economy of the goshala thrives on it. So it seems that cow protection has this ability to thrive in different ways. But you have to pay attention to it, it seems. Just like, for example, if you neglect the breeding, your milk yield goes down. Therefore, you have to be conscious. Krishna was an expert dairy farmer. So somehow the expertise has not always been paying attention. So we measure how we're doing Varnashram culture with cows. We are slipping. We've slipped it by. And then when you have the conversation about catching up, it's a long journey. I think I did a calculation for Europe. We need 900 cows, calves, bulls and oxen. I think we have less than just over 100 or something. We don't have very many. So in Europe also. So everywhere you go, you find the same story. There's practically not a single temple in the whole of ISKCON where the ghee for the deities comes from our own cows. It's surprising. I was speaking to one senior devotee some years ago, and he noted that even our own farms don't have enough milk for our own farmers' use. So we've got to keep going. We've got to keep going to get to the point where at least the deities and the related, at least they should get their dairy as products from our own cows. And then we don't stop there. What next? What next? What next? What next? For example, you can imagine that Radha Parashishwara, they should also be getting their milk and their yogurts and their butter and their ghee from Mayapur, New Mayapur, which means our farming scale has to scale up to not only provide for ourselves, but have the surplus that we can also send to Radha Parashishwara. And then it becomes real. It's real to us. And then when it's real to us, then it has a strong statement that others might pay attention to or not. But at least it should be real to us. I think unless people actually are devotees of Krishna, unless they have that commitment to Krishna consciousness, cow protection is just too far from them. I've seen people, they promoted milk from slaughter-free, and when they've had enough, they give it up and the cows get slaughtered. So they market their milk as slaughter-free while it suits them, and when it doesn't suit them, the cows are killed. But devotees won't do that. Devotees will not consciously harm a cow. Okay, maybe by neglectful management system, they put the cows in place where they don't monitor them. So only by devotional service can cows actually be protected. So it's interconnected. You read the Bhagavatam, cows are everywhere. For example, we were hearing yesterday in class, what's it called? The relationship, parental relationship. Vatsalibhav? Vatsalibhav. That's the calf. It's the calf. The cow's relationship with its calf. That affection that the cow has. The calf is born. The calf is born, she spins around, she's licking it thoroughly, she doesn't want to take her eyes off the calf. That eagerness, affection for the cow to the calf is what's there. That interconnectivity with cows is all over the Bhagavatam. Rishabha means like a powerful king. It comes from the word Vrisha, which is a bull. So somebody's called Rishabdev. His depiction is he's a powerful person, like a powerful bull. Right now we've got Dharma here. He's a little bull. You give him a couple more years, if he's not neutered, he's going to be like a tank, a forceful, powerful tank. So so that's another interconnectivity there. So it's for us. Srila Prabhupada left us spread the movement all over the world, spread Krishna consciousness all over the world, and we also have to spread cow protection all over the world. But we have to spread it for ourselves, for our own society, as the primary focus. If we haven't got it down, how can we ask our neighbours to get it down? So we have to be committed to it and actually manifest it. So a long answer. So as a barometer, we've got a huge journey to go. And because we're not keeping a pace, it's an agonizing journey. We were asking important temples like Vrindavan, how much milk, butter, how big a herd would you need to get all your butter and yogurt and ghee? It was 3,000. They have 400. For Mayapur, it was 1,000. Because their milk was a bit better. So they need 1,000 cows, calves, bulls and oxen. So it's important just to have the figures there. Now, currently, no leadership is looking at it. They're not talking about it. If you bring it up on the meeting, what's next? They were forced to bring it up recently because of this controversy. But it needs strong leadership. Keep pushing it. What next? What next? What next? What next? You need that kind of persistence. More difficult than cows is bulls. it is so difficult to give any seriousness, really? You want to talk about bulls working? I mean, it's even more of a barometer. You know, we all drink milk, but none of our food comes, well, maybe a little bit of our food comes from well, not yet, but it was. Some of some of your food will come from a working ox. We ploughed 3 lines yesterday, 4 lines with the bulls. So some of your food, or someone's food, will come from an ox. So it's even harder. What role has an ox got? Prabhupada told the devotees in England to transport the vegetables overnight by bullock cart and sell them at the market in London. I mean, okay, was Srila Prabhupada serious? Was he serious about that? We have to conclude he was serious. But to implement it is very difficult. To go through, why spend all night traveling by bullock cart when you can get there within 45 minutes in a car? So that mental discipline to choose an ox cart rather than a car, that requires powerful management. So you know, we start up where we can. Okay, what can we commit ourselves to for our oxen to do? Let's start with something and then build up from there. Not just here, every temple. The manor has 10 teams of oxen, 20 trained oxen. But they're not doing, there's huge more that they could do. Same with New Rajadam, these are the most primary farms. They're not going as far as they need to go to really demonstrate to themselves the commitment to working oxen. So we have we're not doing so well. We have a long way to go. We're doing well, but we got a lot more well to go. Anything else?
Work in progress.
A lot of work in progress. And it's hard to give child protection the priority when you've got to pay your bills, when you're struggling to maintain your basically deity worship. Child protection is definitely the last thing you think, one of the last things you think about. But somewhere or other, and that's always been going on, but somehow we have to kind of reschedule it, so at least it's part of the management contemplation on a regular basis. What next? What next? How are we going to grow next? Interestingly enough, I remember reading something that influenced me in the Pancha Tantra. It's kind of little stories with animals. And he was saying there about money, that if you want to retain your money, you have to try to increase it. That if you just try to hold on to the money that you have, it will dwindle. And I see that practically in child protection. If you just try to hold on to what you have, it dwindles. We must have a dynamic of growing. Just, I think that's a kind of important dynamic. It's a work in progress. We've got to keep moving. So in 50 years' time, we come here and we see a massive, thriving farm project based around, dairy farming, forestry with oxen, tourism on bullock cart rides. When I started coming here, I came here at the time of Rene. He was looking at the cows many years ago. That's one of my first kind of formal tours there when I was helping the ministry. So numbers of cows is not too dissimilar now than it was then. So somewhere we have to kind of keep building and solidifying and building and solidifying. And it's difficult. Housing, economy, schooling, these are all issues that are taxing the brains of the leadership all the time. So cows are another thing that you also have to schedule in their management discourses.
Can I ask you about the zebu cows?
Zebu, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, my understanding is they kind of bred to attract sort of the younger children, because the sort of the larger cows are quite scary to children when they're feeding them. So like they chose to breed these.
What he's asking about is the Bhaktivinoda Manor recently bought some miniature zebus. They're like this, and I think that's more or less full size. And the reason why they got them is because, as Prabhu was saying, is to have an interactive experience for children. Now the thing is, so that's their idea. So they bought these 3 miniature zebus and they're going to train them to have children interactive experiences. And hopefully these little miniature zebus will reciprocate with that desire and not become, pokey, kickers, butters, kind of.
It was a beautiful experience. I was there for the ceremony,
Uh-huh.
and the 3 of them, just tiny little babies. All 3 of them were just looking at everyone, had all the ceremony and everything. And I saw them a few days after. Then they were all kind of like just more accustomed to the surroundings, and it was just lovely.
As a cautionary note, we were hearing yesterday that in Hungary they also had some miniature zebus, and the devotee who takes care of them, he was poked by a miniature zebu bull. So just because they're miniature doesn't mean they're placid.
Again, would it be 3? I mean, why are they 3?
Well, they had it for probably similar novel reasons. Smaller bulls using in small plots of land in greenhouses and things. They probably have some good reasons for doing it. Generally, though, you want. I mean, we look the Bhagavatam. If you look at the Bhagavatam cold-heartedly, not cold but cool-headedly, you don't find they're promoting just get any cow. You don't get that coming across. When someone gives away a cow, and sometimes someone's giving away 600 million cows, those cows have got udders laden with milk. Their cows are beautiful. They're docile. Maybe their horns are gold-plated and their hooves are silver-plated. In other words, these are really, if you get a cow like that, you're getting something substantial for development. So no one gives away any cow. Sometimes there's an example where someone is given, just like an old ox, family member. An old family member is being treated like an old ox, is like a burden on society. So in other words, if it was a case that any cow, any bull would do, the Bhagavatam wouldn't make those references. So we have to get cows that are productive. We want cows with big udders that give plenty of milk, and you want big muscly oxen to do hard work. Our little bulls yesterday, only a year and a half, they did okay with their 5 lines. If you're going to plow all day, you want them 5, 6 years old with, muscles on their muscles.
You have to treat them with respect, though.
Well, you got to treat them, the respect of the Bhagavatam. Again, it's interesting. The Bhagavatam says you want to control a bull, you pierce its nose, and you put a rope to its nose, and you drive it from behind. You do. And you tap it. In other words, it's cooperating with you. Something very interesting happens when you actually start training a bull. You see them become placid and peaceful. They become a much happier, docile bull because you're working them. So that kind of dominance or that kind of obligation makes them a better and peaceful ox, and you become peaceful in that process. There's something very calming and soothing about the whole methodology. So it's about productivity. I say that in contrast. We don't all go down the route of getting little mini zebus. We want good milk yields. We want good, powerful ox. And in some cases, you might want a couple of small zebus for particular purposes. But it's not the main thrust of ours.
You mentioned about the fence, electric fence.
Yeah.
So I got electrocuted a few times.
Yeah.
But for the cows, is it harmless for them?
Well, it didn't kill you.
No. Well, it almost did.
Well, it made you not want to touch it again. So it made the cow not want to touch it again.
Okay.
And oftentimes it's there, but it's not even on. They don't know that. They think
So
it's
what
on.
if somebody got piecemeal? Would it still be?
Well,
Like if
really,
it's accidental.
that's unfortunately we're all urbanites, so we're not used to a wire fence in any rural setting tells you it's electrified. So if you touch it, you shouldn't. You should be thinking, why is that wire there, and why the cow's not going out?
I didn't learn my lesson. Is it 3 times electrocuted, and also a photographer in the wedding.
Yeah, better not to touch those wires. Okay. Any last thing before we stop? Okay, we'll stop. Shu Bhagavatamaki, Shu Prabhu Lamrita, which was here.
So protection ki. Sundar Prabhu ki.